podcast. So take it away, Eva. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about imposter syndrome. Did you know that 70% of people feel imposter syndrome at some point in their career? I mean, I could relate so heavily. If you don't know what that is, it's definitely that sinking feeling that when you're like winging it, you're getting started at something, that someone's going to figure out that you're like not who you say you are.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You know, before we start, make sure that you subscribe. And if you are here, I want to say thank you so much for coming on this channel. This is your channel. We're here for you. So we would love it if you give us a heart to show that you are really enjoying this. Okay, take it away. I love this whole idea. Did you know I didn't know about imposter syndrome until like probably 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, I think I saw it, and it's kind of like popular for a bit, and I feel like a lot of these like self-work things are like a blip in the media and something becomes popular for a minute. Mm-hmm. But I think it's so topical for young people getting their careers, or older people doing a career change, or I don't know, anybody trying something new ever. Mm-hmm. And we all talk about confidence. What is that? Are people born confident? Is that something like a muscle that you work? Mm-hmm. Well, confidence is not never feeling doubt, but having the capacity to move past it is what it is. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, confidence comes, I think, with like, you know, repetition of something. Mm-hmm. For this whole like imposter syndrome, it's so true. And like, you know, especially I find like, doesn't matter if whatever career you start, but like in real estate, we hear when we first started, they would say like, what's the saying goes?
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. So they constantly talk about, you know, just keep going, pretend like you know what you're doing. And it's okay to fake it till you make it if you're maybe older looking. But when you're younger looking, it's like you cannot fake it. Like you can't say you were doing this for, 10 years or 20 years when you're only 20 years old, you know. And that was something that was a challenge that I was experiencing when I first started in real estate, where I couldn't say like, yeah, I've been doing this for many years. And another thing that I remember I was taught in like the brokerages to say is like, if somebody says, how long have you been doing this? Just respond like, oh, sometimes it feels like forever.
That's not what I heard.
No?
It's like you just take the stats from the brokerage. Like, we've been doing it for 20 years.
Oh, that's smart,
and
I
just
guess.
Jump into the collective. But then people look at you and they're like, you know, I don't know if I can trust what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because you know that's not the question.
But honestly, I didn't know this whole imposter syndrome until like 3 years ago. So tell me, like, have you experienced that? What was your experience with this whole imposter syndrome? And I would love to share mine.
Well, 1,000,000%. I would love to say that it was just a symptom of the past, but I do still feel like it creeps in every single day. To some degree. Oh. I mean, when I sit here on the podcast, I'm like, oh my gosh, have I achieved enough to be on a podcast? Have I done enough? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like that's a good thing to say though. But just a few weeks ago, as I was meeting with one of our past clients, you know, somebody like called our office and said, hey, you know what, I want to write a book about you and your life story and this and that. And the person I was talking to, which by the way, we're going to get her here in one of these episodes, she's an amazing author and she wrote her book. So happy to bring her on here. And she's about to write her second one, which is amazing. So she said to me something really amazing, because I was telling her this. I was like, I don't know if I've achieved enough to now have a book be written about me. And she said, first and foremost, make sure that you're the one, like, this is your story, so don't give it to anybody else to write it. Make sure that you're the one that tells your story. And secondly, like, it's not about the fact that have I achieved enough to have a book written about me, but like everybody's got something to share. And I thought that was so good. Like the how you went through life and like what have you achieved so far is sometimes even more, people can relate more to that than someone who's like, who's done so much, then it's like, okay, well, like, in order to be there, like, the road seems so far away. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it was like, what she said to me, it resonated with me a lot in that, you know what, there's still stuff to share. And if you're writing something or you're doing something, just, share with people what you have learned so far. You don't have to be pretending to be somebody you're not. People just want to hear about you and your story. So like when you're talking about, let's say, the podcast, it seems like, yeah, oh my gosh, like you're on a podcast, but like, and how long this has been in the works, right? And when we started and things like that. But at the end of the day, people just want to hear you, and like, somebody else might be out there that's like trying to figure out what is this world of real estate and or like how is this person doing it, and is that really the way it should be done, So I think that no matter what, you should just, wherever you are in this life, you should just like claim it.
Yeah, definitely. I find it really funny how everybody, like, you aren't that thing until you do it. Like, you're not a yogi until you do yoga one time. Like, once you go for your first run, like, you're a runner. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And somebody thinks like, oh my gosh, I have to run so many times to say I'm a runner. I've shared it on this podcast before. Like, I used to drink alcohol, mm-hmm. and I found it so weird when I had to be like for the first couple times being like, oh, I don't drink. Mm-hmm. Like, it almost seemed like a lie. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But it does. Like, the more that you practice this exercise of being who you want to be, well, then you're there. I do have some examples written here about different kinds of imposter syndrome, and like maybe that may resonate with some people. Mm-hmm. And then as we discuss, maybe some people are like, yeah, that's really like me. So one is the perfectionist, which is if it's not perfect, then I failed. One is the expert. I don't know enough to be here.
Wow.
The soloist, which is if I ask for help, then I failed. 4 is the natural genius. If I struggle, then I'm not smart enough. Or 5, the superhuman. I have to juggle everything perfectly.
I don't know why. As you're reading this list, I feel like it's like you're talking about me, and I can like each one of those like speaks to me, actually.
You're like, me.
It's weird.
Me. Oh, me again.
I'm like, you should go one at a time. Hold on. Have I done this? Wow, that's crazy. That's, it's so true. So, what about you? Which one can you relate to? Honestly, I can relate to every single one of them. It's crazy.
I think a lot of it is like the expert, which is like, oh, I don't know enough to be here, but literally, like, especially with homes, right? You're like, well, I'm not a plumber, and I'm not an electrician, and I'm not a roofer. We know a little bit about everything.
Honestly, not enough when you get your license, because I feel like the very first time I was out with buyers, it wasn't even my own buyers. It was like some other agent who was on vacation, and he entrusted me with his business. And I was like, oh my God, I was so excited. I can't even tell you. I was over the moon. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually going to go out with people that want to buy a home. Yeah. And so as we were going downstairs, one of the places buyers like to look at is like the utilities room. So we were looking at the utilities room, and they're like, okay, yeah, so like this is a furnace, and like, this agent told us if it's this color, then it's between this, this year and that year. If it's this is like energy efficient. And here I am just like listening in. I'm like, oh, really? Like I'm learning here. You know what I mean? And I was like, I can't say anything. Like that moment, I felt like, I really felt like an imposter. I'm like, I am an agent, but I really am not qualified to be here. And that was like really scary.
Yeah. And I had that same feeling, being like, oh my gosh, is it almost dangerous for me to be here? Like, it is dangerous to operate in a world of real estate when you don't know what you're doing.
Yes.
That's why I'm such a proponent of the team model, where it's a safe place to learn. You're not putting yourself or others at risk with like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you could get from point A, where you don't really know anything and you have aspirations of who you want to be and what you want to learn. And it's not like you don't know because you don't have the aspiration to learn. It's just like you've never been in the environment.
Yeah.
Same thing with me. I didn't know what a furnace was. And as soon as I jumped into the real estate school, my mom walked me down to the furnace room.
Oh, really?
Pretty much. It was like, okay,
nice.
So this is a furnace and this is a hot water tank.
Thanks, Mom. That's so nice.
Thanks, Mom. But now, since joining the team, it's like I get to see so much more.
Now you tell your mom like what she needs to do to maintain her furnace.
Well, yeah, the furnace where I'm like, wait, when's the last time you pumped the septic? You know what I mean? But exactly. And I think the fake it till you make it, in some degrees, it could be, empowering to like just jump into like who you feel like you're supposed to be. But I think there is a like cut it out if it's going to put like other people in a dangerous place. Like you're safer to like have a mentor, and even if that means, sorry people, like committing splitting your paychecks or whatever you need to do, you should do that instead of
Well, I think there were two things you mentioned right there which are, I think, really good. One is, let's start from the paycheck thing. Like, I mean, with real estate, it's like the only, I don't know what it is. It's the only profession that it's so publicly announced how much they're getting paid. And then it's the only profession that the agent, like the trade person, feels like they should do it all alone and they should take this whole amount to themselves. Like there's no like sales out there. Like think about it, like a roofer, right? Like they charge the same as like maybe our commission, right? Mm-hmm. But they're only there for like 2-3 days, right? In terms of labor. We put in a lot more hours, a lot more days, but for some reason the public, that's the perception of the public, even myself before I was an agent, they feel like, oh my gosh, I overpaid you for no reason, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's like everybody sees that it's going into one person, but which, by the way, it's not true. That's a myth. It doesn't go to, even if you're working with that solo agent still has to pay for their, like, at the very least, they have to pay for their brokerage fees and for their licensing fees and board fees, right?
Yeah.
So there's all of these extra fees that is hidden. But what you see is what is being paid out, and you think that the agents are getting it. Now, there are some agents that are also just like any other businesses out there. I could even say, like, as technical as doctors, they're not very good with finances. So they think, oh, well, I'm going to get paid whatever, thousands of dollars. So they go out and start buying stuff and to put it on all over social media. And now the public thinks, well, they're overpaid.
What do you mean? It's a write-off.
Yeah, but it's not a write-off. Like, I mean, we thought like we can write off, I don't know, like food. It's not true. You can't write off food. You can only write off 50% of that, right?
Yeah, it's definitely like interesting for sure, but I think,
but it's like, that's why the team models, like, so like you should be working in an organization. You should be working with a bunch of people, because what you And like lawyers, for example, did you know lawyers have a split and a much, much smaller split than how agents splits are? And like, everybody can agree with me that lawyers go through a lot more education than agents do.
Yeah.
So why is it that it makes sense to them, but it doesn't make sense to agents? It just like some days it's beyond me. Like there's a lot of services being put into place to make this happen for you. So like why? And the thing is, like, if you're coming from that mindset, I don't think you're gonna last enough, is what it is.
Yeah. If you're focused on doing it alone, it's not the best way to do it. But I do, like, I'm such a proponent of the team model. Like, I almost feel like an apprenticeship in real estate should be mandatory, because there's so many intricacies, and you don't know, like, everything until you've done it a million times. Like, here, like, 5 years in, I don't know how many deals I've done. I don't know how many appointments I've had. I felt like, actually, on a TikTok friend, I felt like almost starting a video saying, after holding, over 100 buyer appointments at this point.
More. You hold like 100, I don't know, after like probably like 3 months or something like that. A lot more. I'd love actually for us to find out.
Let's get the numbers. Yeah. But there's still things that's like, oh my gosh, I've never heard that question. I've never thought about it this way. I also think that there is a detriment almost to have been done something forever, because I just ran into it the other day when I was writing this kind of condition. Okay, I've never, maybe the client's watching, I don't know, but I just only saw these things written in one way ever, and in my mind was like breaking.
Yeah,
when someone proposed something different. You know what I'm saying? And like same thing with real estate. You're like, oh, I heard so many times about how you get your first client. I can't imagine doing it any other way, or I can't imagine.
And the crazy part though is when you're like in such an environment like ours, it's like, when you see that like the old way still exists, it's crazy. It's like you forget. You're like, there's no way people are still doing it that way, just because like you don't do it that way. And then you see that people are still doing things that way, and it's like, it's crazy to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And sometimes you need an imposter to disrupt the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And so anyways, coming back to like what you were saying is that absolutely, like I have felt this being an imposter for a bit. But I think that when you have the right, the second thing was like when you have the right support to back you up, you feel like it's kind of like, a kid at the school, is getting like bullied, and then suddenly they have like this like big brother, and that legit happened to me. So like in high school, I had like, I had these guys from the same class or same grade. They were like kind of, I don't like to use bully, but they're kind of like we're not being nice to me or whatever. And then I told my brother, and my cousin was there too. And next thing you know, they were like, these guys, they're like, who was it? And I'm like, oh, it's that guy. He wasn't being nice to me. And they went and had a talk with this guy. And this guy made sure that he was like, never, ever again doing anything disrespectful to me. And, it's kind of like that. So like when you're supported by people that know what they're doing, like they're like the leaders in the industry, then that's the time that you're like, you're like that kid that feels so confident because you're like, I can always go and be backed by these people and they'll help me no matter what. And the other thing is like, it's okay for you to tell people that, what, I don't know. I don't know. You like before when we don't know, when we're trying to fake it, that's what I hate about that. When they say fake it till you make it, it's okay. And I think people appreciate that even more. And I'm learning this more and more, honestly. But like, people appreciate it more and more when you tell them that, you know what, no, I don't know this one. You know, but I'm okay to find out for you. Like, I think that's what people want. People are like, you know what, as long as you can get me the information, that's all that matters to me. And there are certain things that you shouldn't be answering, and just like direct them to the right person to answer it.
Yeah. And I feel so passionate about sharing the stories of like going from not being an agent to figuring out how to get my first client to this and that, because I find so much more value in the stories that people say, you know what, you see me here today, but I wasn't always this person.
Yeah.
Like I saw some podcasts about how confidence is not something that you're born with, it's a skill that you grow. Same thing with like sometimes you see people, they talk in front of like a stage or a stadium and they're so magnetic and you're like, oh, like I wish I was just born like you. Like you have something like so charismatic, so powerful. And then like, oh, who was that guy that we were watching? Then you see their old stuff and you're like, oh my God, who listened to this guy? Who paid for that show? Oh my goodness. And it's just almost painful to watch their growth because...
You're talking about Russell Brunson. Yeah.
Russell Brunson. Oh my gosh, his old stuff, he looked like a different person.
Mm-hmm.
I found so much power in knowing that people can transform themselves.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting. It's inspiring. But the fact that you were able to recognize that too is also, to me, I think like that shows growth. Because probably like your old self wouldn't be able to see it. Like, you know, you can show something. You can find, like, you could show a diamond to someone that doesn't know diamond, and they'll be like, oh, okay, it's just another rock, right? And then you show it to someone who's like, oh my gosh, this is not just any rock. This is like the most rarest kind of diamond. Like, it's a pink diamond. You know what I mean? And it's like worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, so it's like the fact that you recognize it, that just shows growth as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yay! Woohoo!
And what's so cool too, when we're reading books and stuff, it's always like about how people went on this journey. And if there was no struggle, there was no hardship, there was no anything, I mean, there definitely wouldn't be a book. Like, definitely nobody would want to hear about it. So it's just for you to figure out like what chapter are you in, and it's so much easier to grow when you just detach from perfection, so you could sloppily jump into something. Like, I hate when I start really resonating with the slogans, like, just do it. I'm like, I get it now, like, just do it.
But that's it. That's the growth that I'm talking about. So I'll tell you, like, the very first time I went on the stage, I was so nervous. I'm like, who am I to be talking to all these people?
Anna Alemi?
That's so much, like, they do so much. And some of them, like, have such bigger businesses than I do. Like, who am I to be talking? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, like, I would be saying something, and I should be the one sitting down and listening to you, you know? But there were also other people that were like, oh my gosh, you're so inspiring. And like, after all of this, you were able to do that. But you know, so that was when I really truly felt that imposter syndrome. Okay. But I could go back as far as like situations where I would be in big meetings with my father, and my father wouldn't tell, you know, the other people that we're related, because I look Asian and he doesn't. But if you look at us very closely, you'll see that I actually have his eyes. Even though I look Asian, like, I think I posted a video of me and my dad dancing. Go back and look at it. It's like, we do look very similar. And so anyways, like, I'd be sitting in these meetings. I remember one particular meeting. It was with like a petroleum company, and it was not in Canada, but they were a Canadian company. And we're sitting there, and I, like, they were going around the table introducing themselves and like their crazy background of like, all this stuff they have achieved. And here I am, like a student, and I felt like such an imposter right there. They're like, why is this Asian girl in here, this kid? Meanwhile, everybody here has got like crazy background. And then I guess that was the first time I felt like an imposter. And then later on, they found out that I was related to my dad. But at that time, it was that was my very first time. But I have to say, one thing I heard from, I don't know who it was, one of these like big podcasters. They were saying like, whenever I go to like a conference, okay, there are two things that you need to, two people here that do really, really well, two types of people. There are people that think that this whole conference or event was built just specifically for them, right? Like everybody spent, like the organizers spent this time and money, and all these people sponsored so that this like paid for tickets to make this event a reality. But the one that benefits from it is the one that feels like this was really, really just for me. And I'm going to tell you, every time I go to a conference, before even I heard this, I was doing that. I was like, you know what? This is for me. This is for me. This whole thing is for me. I'm here to just like learn. And when the guy said it, I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. So now I take it even more literally to go there and like purposely to make sure that, I look at it as if the whole thing was built for me. The other thing is, he said, somebody else said that no matter who the speakers are, there are like two types of speakers. There are speakers up there that be like, you know what, I'm just here to tell everybody how it is and what I know, blah, 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 and I'm the best, And usually those speakers are not. They don't have a lot to share. But there's speakers. There was one speaker that he said he came across, and this guy was like super successful. And he said, I was amazed. I ended up talking to him backstage, and he said, you know what? It doesn't matter who goes up there to speak. They may have not achieved as much as I have, but I can always learn something from them. There's always something to learn from anyone and everyone, from their experiences. You just have to listen in carefully. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Does
that make sense, or I'm just talking
It does
gibberish?
make sense. Like in a conference, of course, it's like, and sometimes it's not even what they're saying, it's how they're saying it, or how somebody can make you feel. Like, I always take note when I go somewhere and the staff makes me feel so special, or somebody makes me feel so seen, because I'm like, I just hope I could do that for somebody.
Yeah.
And like, that's part of our job, right? Like really resonating with people, but sometimes people need that. And there's just not enough people that, make you feel really special. And we read a whole book about it, about hospitality, and bringing that to the next level. So there's a difference between doing a service and being a service worker. Sure, you get the job done, but hospitality is how they make you feel. And I think so many speakers have a good job at moving you and making you feel. And then some of them, they just give you the words, the information. Yeah,
it's so true. They do that. But anyways, going back to this idea of there's always something to share, to tell people about. Now in the position that we're in, a lot of the times I find that my skill set has improved a lot more ever since I really took that extra effort, which is really not an effort, but we take that for granted, of like really sitting down and listening to people, whether it's a buyer or a seller or a fellow colleague agent or a lawyer, anyone, there's always something that you can reflect on. So like when they talk, really take a moment to listen. I have tried to like actively like be there and just try to, and honestly it's hard at times. It's hard, especially because there's all kinds of conversations going on, like you're trying to think what to say next, and then you're trying to like all these thoughts going on in your own head. So most people are like trying to figure out what is it that they're gonna say, but they don't listen to what it is that other people are saying. But there's always amazing little jewels in what people say. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Because it's like you listen to that, and maybe, you know what, maybe this buyer was not the right fit, or this seller was not the right fit. But now that you've heard this perspective, this new way of like seeing things, now you have grown. Now you're like, you know what, I can incorporate that into what it is that I need to, like, some people are like, I didn't hear that the first time you said it, or, this is what happened last time. But like now I get to really, really like, I am listening to you, or I like it how you said it this way, or how you could, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It really resonates with me, like, thinking about like what you're going to say next. And, I do feel like at the beginning of my professional career, like I couldn't hear people. Like my head was so noisy with like, what am I going to say next? Like, like what do they think of me? What's going on? Am I supposed to be here? Like it's almost like the imposter was like literally creating like a storm in my head. And then I feel like it really makes you seem like an imposter because you can't even hear them when your head is so loud and you're just there like, yeah, for sure. I'll get you that answer. And
even like you talking about it, it's as if like I'm like right there with you in that moment.
Yeah.
And like the look in your eyes seems like you are so nervous. You're just like not sure about yourself. And like as someone who is trying to, I guess, kind of judge if I want to work with you or not, that doesn't look good,
Yeah. And it's like...
it's counterproductive.
And you seem disconnected for no reason. Like, not because you don't want to be there. You actually want to be there so bad. And you just want to do such a good job. And if anybody's read or heard about psycho-cybernetics, it's a little bit about, like, how our mind creates our reality and that kind of thing. But it also talks about how you could practice something so many times and really greatness, like Olympians, this and that, like even when they're doing it, it becomes second nature to them. Yeah. When they're doing greatness, they're not thinking about it so much. They're not thinking about their next step. So what I found when I really fully understood my career and the next steps and the answers to the questions, like I really knew my stuff. It freed my mind to listen, because now I could lock in and listen, which is like, you're not worried, oh my gosh, am I going to say the wrong or the right thing? But you're like, can I actually help these people? Can I hear them? And I think most people, they're not heard in their everyday life. Their friends, their family, everybody's like busy in this world, and they do really want to be heard, and they are going to tell you how to unlock them. If you just like don't say anything at all, it'd almost be better than talking the whole time.
Wow, that was really good. I think like it's true. It's that's why like you gotta like practice what it is that you're like, what you mentioned, the Olympians, or like these sports athletes, or whatever it is, whoever is really good at what they're doing, like whether it's a lawyer or a doctor or a surgeon or what have you, they're really good at what they're doing because they've done it a million times, a billion times, that to them it becomes second nature. So like when they see something that is not supposed to go a certain way, they can just like get it fixed up right away. You know? And I remember myself too, like if we were talking about like real estate, for example, it's like the very first time you're writing an agreement of purchase and sale, and you're like, where do the signatures go? Where do the initials go? And like how many times we have missed signatures or initials in the right places. But it's like now, it's kind of like I could be like doing 3 other things and just making sure that I'm reviewing the agreement of purchase and sale, make sure that it's like done correctly. Obviously, you don't like my very first time, it would take me hours and hours and hours and still make a mistake. But now it's like I could be like doing a few other things simultaneous, like having listening to a training for, let's say our ISAs or what have you, but at the same time making sure that that is done correctly and accurately. You know what I mean? So it's like the same thing. It's like, it's second nature, you go in there talking to buyers and sellers, it's second nature because I know what it is that you're looking for. And it shows the confidence. I feel like, confidence itself comes from repetition. My daughter, she's an athlete. She does these crazy things that she does. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like how did you do that? But like, man, she goes up the same hill so many times and comes back down the same hill so many times every year, every season. And it's like, of course, like you could be, I would think like at this point, she could probably just do it with her eyes closed, like because you've done it so many times. It's just like, you know exactly what you need to do. Yes.
I just kind of thought about something funny because it's almost like, well,
tell me something funny.
Well, isn't it like you think that, you would really get over imposter syndrome, but I think like, there's a new imposter syndrome at every single level.
Every level. There's a new devil at every level.
Yes, you said that. Because I think it's human nature, or maybe it's just me. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, like if I know something, like you must know something. Like it's almost, I don't know why, I always think that. So almost like the better you get at something, you're like, now you're an expert, you're like, everybody would think it's easy. Like, why do they even need me, to be honest? Because it's so easy. Everybody would think it's easy, but you, like, don't realize, like, at the beginning, it wasn't easy for you. And those,
oh, my gosh.
Those people are on the same level. Like, when I first got into real estate, I was like, oh, my gosh, the agreement of purchase and sale and this and that. And it's like, I'm pretty much a lawyer. Like, there's so much paperwork. Like, oh, my gosh, like, look at this contract. Now I'm, like,
pretty much.
I'm, like, relax. Like, it's like a worksheet. Like a fill-in-the-blank worksheet.
Yeah.
But whoops.
Sorry, this is live.
It's okay. But now you just have to like remember how much work it took to get here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I was trying to hold myself.
No, be you.
Has anybody ever sneezed in the middle of a podcast? Are we the first ones to do this? Cut it. No, so yeah, it's true. Just like it's true at every level. There's like a new devil where you feel like, oh my gosh, now what? But here's what I was thinking while you were talking about that. It's that I remember when we were doing some work to our home and we were changing the floors. There was this guy. He was doing stonework. And he did this whole wall so perfectly, so quickly. And then he did all of these bathrooms so perfectly, so quickly. But, he costed a lot. And so quickly, too. Like, he was so good. He made a cheap tile look like so expensive. So here's the problem. So we're like, oh my God, he's so good, but he's so expensive. Can we find somebody else to do the floors in this big area? Because this guy is going to charge an arm and a leg. And guess what? The area that we wanted to get done was, we chose really, really expensive tiles, okay? But we decided to go with cheaper cheaper person
You
to
spend
do
all
the
the money
floors.
on the tiles.
Yeah.
They should look great by themselves.
Yeah. So we're like, you know what? Oh my gosh. We hired someone that was, by the way, referred by another agent. They said they're
really good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It took them so long. They did the work not so good. And, every time I'm like, oh my, why did we cheapen out on that? And, the guy just made it look so easy. But it wasn't easy. He was just an expert. He was just so good at what he was doing. And that's what it is. Oftentimes people see somebody's doing the work that would usually take 10 hours, 2 hours, or an hour. And they're like, well, why am I paying you? You're paying for the experience is what you're paying for. You're paying for them making mistakes several times in other places, not your file.
Yeah.
That is what you're paying for. You're paying that this time it's going to be good. And so, anyways, that's what I was thinking while sneezing.
They almost put themselves out of work. It's like, don't make it look too easy.
Yeah.
They won't think that they need you.
Yes, yes, so true.
Yeah, and I just find every time you think, every time I discredit anything, I'm like, well, who even needs that?
Mm.
Something comes up, and they show me why I'm not qualified.
Yes.
If you think you could... I tried to do my own car door myself, fix my window or something.
I don't even know.
I spent hours and hours. Well, because my mom said I could do it. So I was like, okay. And I was like, I'm popping apart this window. I get in there. Don't even know what I'm looking at. I can't tell if it's wrong or if it's right.
Even the mechanic.
Yeah, so I opened it all up, and I don't know why. When I opened it up, I'd be like, it's very obvious if there's a problem with the window. No idea.
My gosh.
Just put it back on, and it doesn't work.
Pay for the expert, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, well that's good. Let's talk about something funny to finish this off because I gotta get going.
Okay.
And you've got to get going.
So we put in this new initiative where we have a team member fill out a bunch of stuff about themselves so we can make a LinkedIn post because we want you guys to know us and be likable and whatever, market ourselves beyond real estate, maybe like we do on this podcast, but in a different way. So they asked me a bunch of questions. This took me so long to answer 20 questions. They're just fun questions about what's your dream vacation? What's this? What's that?
My gosh. So it is so fun because yesterday I was going through this and I swear in one of the questions I laughed so hard I dislocated my rib into my fat. Something like that. I was like, I need to stretch myself because it was so funny. So let's see. Okay, so meet Eva. I was like, this is so cool. There's stuff here I didn't know about you. So she's been with us since 2019. It says she's been with Driven Realty Inc. since 2019, earning her real estate license while simultaneously completing her bachelor's degree at the University of Ottawa.
That's true.
Here's a peek into
Go
Eva's
GGs.
world. Should we do that? All right. So a perfect day off. Oh my gosh, I need a tissue, I feel like. I'm just gonna, okay. So perfect day off is Eva's ideal way to spend the day off is at Nordique, a peaceful spa retreat 20 minutes away from Ottawa, downtown Ottawa.
Yeah. You know what? My friends, well, maybe not my friends, my boyfriend thinks I have no hobbies. And I did have a hobby that I'd like to take on, which is being a spa connoisseur. I'm not into sports. I'm not into anything like that. So
that is your sport. Okay. So next is comfort food. When it comes to comfort food, nothing hits the spot like a homemade pizza for Eva.
That's true.
Wow. Is that the Italian side of you?
No. My mom used to work at Fat Albert's.
What?
Yeah, she used to work at Fat Albert's. When she was young. And then I guess They showed her how to make pizza because it was like a pizza place.
Okay.
It's not upscale. I don't know. Maybe you can tell by the name. It's in Ottawa.
No, really?
But yeah, we had pizza on Wednesdays and Saturdays like my whole life.
Yeah, because I remember one time you said, like, my mom's having pizza, like, making pizza, whatever, in her home, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I love it, homemade pizzas. And I was like, oh, that's such a cool idea. Cool. All right, so next, it makes sense. Bucket list goals. Eva's bucket list is heartwarming. She dreams of owning a home where she can rescue pigs. What?
Yeah. Pigs are, like, my favorite animal. Yeah. I would love to have, like, a house that's big enough with, like, obviously, like, outdoor. Maybe
are they going to be outside or what?
Maybe, like, one indoor pig.
Oh, my gosh. I don't know about that. I'll tell you, one time I was out and about looking at a farm with my husband, and it was a pig farm. And I was a realtor. We walked into the farm area where the pigs were, but there were no pigs. Did it ever stink? It was so bad. I was like, I was gagging. I was like,
you know what? They can be taken care of.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I mean, like, if anybody could take care of them, it'd be you. After the spaghetti story. All right. Best advice. A quote Eva lives by is, being clear is being kind.
Yes. Did you know I'm like a 3 life path or something like that? And my whole life is about communication, apparently.
Really?
So it is very fitting that I find that, like, it resonates with me. And I've said this on the pod.
Okay. Karaoke jam. When it's time for karaoke, Eva's ready to belt out. I can't read this. Whatever.
We're meant to be together.
By Shakira. She knows how to get the crowd moving. Come on, seriously?
I used to have a karaoke machine in my bedroom as a kid.
What?
And, like, the only thing was Shakira.
We were meant to meet, I swear to you. All right. I have a karaoke machine. I have 2. I'll bring them to the office.
Yeah.
And we'll need to get some karaoke.
I'm no good at it, so don't get excited.
I am very good.
I'm not a Canadian Idol.
I told you I tried for Canadian
I
Idol.
know.
All right. I don't know if I can sing anymore. All right. So, new skill. One thing Eva's been meaning to learn. She wants to learn another language. Spanish. Now, is it because of Jeffrey? Jefe?
Oh, no. It's because I like...
Who's Jefe?
Jefe's my dog from Mexico. But it's because
it's a rescue dog.
Yeah, it's a rescue dog. But I like to go to Cuba. And I have learned, like, some things. Well, obviously, hola.
Yeah.
But then it's like soy vegano is I'm vegan.
Soy vegano.
No, soy, like soybean, vegano, or vegana. It's like I'm vegan.
I thought it's estoy, but stoy.
And then no alcohol is sin alcohol.
Oh.
So that's easy. Like, alcohol is a sin.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. If you say so, sure.
Okay, I'm not saying it's a sin, but it's just a way to remember.
Okay, sounds good. So next is your super skill. If she could instantly master a skill, it would be stand-up comedy or improv. Eva loves the spontaneity. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Spontaneity of comedy and the joy it brings to others. Yeah, I could honestly see you as that. Because you've got, like, this face where you can say stuff with, like, a straight face. And it's, like, so funny. So funny.
Yeah, my drama teacher in grade 9 said I remind her of Chelsea Handler.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that.
I would love to.
Better looking than her. Sorry, Chelsea.
All
right. Favorite Ottawa spot. Eva, I have to go really fast. Eva loves the Locks by Parliament. I've never heard of them, but I'd love to try them. Let's go.
Like a Canadian staple. Okay, if you want to just jump to the funny one.
What inspires Eva? Eva finds inspiration in the success of those closest to her. Watching friends and family crush their goals motivates her to do the same. Fictional character to meet.
I didn't know, honestly. I was asking.
This is where I have this location. If she could meet any fictional character, Eva would choose E.T. She's dying to know what aliens know that we don't.
Yeah, and I told that to my friend. I was like, yeah, I said E.T. because it's like an alien. And then she's like, E.T. doesn't like know English. Like, you're not going to learn anything.
All right, dream vacation. Next on Eva's dream vacation list is the Maldives.
Maldives.
Okay, the crystal clear waters and white sandy. Me too. Oh my gosh, let's go. Let's go. I love it. Okay, book recommendation. Eva recently read Down the Drain by Julia Fox. She thinks it is worth checking out. Oh, you didn't even tell me about that.
Okay, well, I actually listened to an audiobook.
Okay.
And it's a story about Julia Fox's life, and it is so crazy. Like, she battled with addiction, like this and that. She had like a crazy like drug dealer boyfriend. I don't know. It's like, it's really insane. But then you think about like, wow, Julia Fox, you made it, and you went through all that.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Okay. Superpower. If Eva were a superhero, her superpower would be the ability to read minds. A great power to have, especially in real estate.
Exactly.
That's a good one. Your entrance song, whenever Eva enters a room, she'd love for Ordinary by Alex Warren to play. It's an upbeat, feel-good track she's completely obsessed with. Oh, I think I heard that.
Yeah, I was like,
the other day.
Anybody that watched like Love is Blind, even though it's not like a crazy track, like I know you'd be like, do, like something cool. This is actually just very like a love song.
Oh, okay. Oh, so cute. All right. Random Google search. Eva's latest random Google search was, why should our calendar be 13 months?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of that?
I heard of that. Well, I heard it from you. It's like sometimes I come to you and be like, you know, something I heard, and you're like, I told you that, Anna. Okay, anyways. Best concert. The best live event Eva's ever been to was Billy Talent. Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Everybody knows what Billy Talent is.
The latest app download. Eva's most recent app download is Scrabble Go. Word games are always a good time. Really? Oh, yeah. That's cute. We should do that too.
I always love Words with Friends, but it's like seasonal for me.
Okay, like, that's true. Me too.
I'm like, I love this. I just forget about it.
It's a Gemini thing. All right. How does Eva stay motivated? Eva stays motivated by reviewing her big whys. Keeping the bigger picture in mind helps her stay on track with her goals. One thing she can't live without, and of course, Eva couldn't live without her loyal, of course, companion, Jeffrey, also known as Jefe.
Yeah.
Her dog she rescued a few years ago from Mexico. Wow! Yay!
Yes! As you're reading it, I'm like, I don't know what I said. Like, I hope I didn't say anything bad.
Yeah, so there you have it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this this episode of our podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. And we love that we're able to do this. We're so grateful. We're so grateful to you for actually supporting it, because, you know, without you, this wouldn't be here. And why would it be here if you are not here watching it or enjoying it? Yeah, you know, Eva and I, we talk all the time, obviously. But I mean, like, being able to talk here unfiltered is kind of interesting, but also really, really scary at times, because some of you guys have seen us without us ever meeting. So like, whenever we meet you, we feel like, you know, we have to put this like good behavior out there. And then you have watched this, so it's like, oh, sorry, I guess you know what we're all about. Sorry about that.
Yeah, like, I don't know what I said on the pod. I blacked out.
Don't take it seriously. But anyways, thank you so much. If you love it, please make sure that you put a little heart, share it with your friends, subscribe, and let us know what you want to hear.
Is there a way to comment? Comment
as well. I mean, like, we're asking too much at this point, but thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you, and we're really grateful to you. Right, Eva?
Yes.
Thank you.